did 2 tours in Uzbekistan.
Nasdaqistan. Oh, Nasdaqistan, dude.
2 tours.
That's sick.
Tours.
Matthew, welcome to the Driven Podcast. This podcast is about how can we get Gen Z to become A players, Z to A. That's the whole purpose. So
I love that.
Yeah, I mean, it took a second to think about that name, but yeah. So I want to just extract from you as much advice as you can for Gen Z. Tell me about some of the worst time in your career. Maybe like literally, what is the worst moment where you're like, nah, this is not gonna happen. I want to quit. I'm out.
So I won't say that I ever reached a point where I said that I wanted to quit. I will say there was my lowest point in my career, I would say, was actually I was in the midst of directing and producing a feature film. It was a feature film based on a short film that I did called After the Fall. We filmed half of it pre-COVID.
Oof.
And then obviously the lockdowns came in. Everything obviously got shut down. And then when things did start to open up, right, we had to abide by the protocols and things like that. And at that point, I was working a day job at a warehouse, right, $15 an hour. And so I'm like, okay, I'm trying to balance this while also kind of trying to do freelance work while also funding this feature film project that continued to balloon. And so within all of that, it just kind of became that, like, I was the most stressed that I've ever been in my life, work-wise, filming that project. And I picked up alcoholism.
Oh,
and
yeah, baby.
Not in a good way. Now I'm just a hobby mixologist, but back then it was not in a good place. And so yeah, so like I had a phase of that. Don't recommend that at all.
Alcoholism?
Yeah, no, I do not recommend that. I mean I do enjoy a good mixed drink now from time to time, but that phase of my life was not a happy good one to be in. And so, like, but the key thing that I take from that is I would not be able to do what I do now had I not gone through that. Mm-hmm. Because going through the making of that film, having to juggle everyone's schedules, coming out of a global pandemic lockdown situation and everything that's encompassed within that, while working a minimum wage job, trying to also save up to continue to fund a business, right? It's like your limited resources going towards a ton of projects. And so, yeah, it was, again, would not recommend that strategy. But had I not gone through that, I would not be able to deal with the level of stress that I deal with now because, that kind of primed me of it's like, hey, anything that I do now is going to be less stressful than I was during that point in my life.
Mm-hmm. What was the couple clients or a couple projects that made you land on your current business model, and what is your current business model?
Yep. So my current business model is typically a retainer-based video solutions system. So what that means is every month I have a meeting with my clients. We talk about what is going on in their business right now, are any deals that are coming up, what's the market look like for their industry, things like that. And then we kind of structure a content plan around that. We film that content based on the plan that we outline. And then within about 2 weeks, we're delivering all of the assets, to them to be able to post on social media. And so through that, the goal, the idea is that as you produce more content, over a long enough time horizon, people start to know you, recognize you, like you, and trust you through the videos that they watch and that they see. Mm-hmm. And so I've been doing that since I started freelancing in 2017, started the business in 2021. And I've had clients that have been with me from the beginning, still going strong after 5-6 years. So I've and every client that has left has either come back or has the reason that they left was like for personal reasons. So I've never had a client that's left me because they weren't pleased with the work that we did. So to me, that's just kind of a testament to, the work that we do. And I actually found out, this was probably about a month ago, that we were in the running for the community award for best video production company in St. Augustine.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't submit to that. Somebody else submitted me to that for consideration for that award, and we were in the top 5. I haven't heard anything since then, so I'm not quite sure where the rankings stand right now. But just again, a testament to the work that we do.
Did you come up to this business model right after all of that like difficulty with the feature film that you were working on, or when did you arrive at this business model in your timeline?
Well, so the business model, I actually took Ty Lopez's marketing course in college, and so one of the strategies that is talked about there is a retainer, and a lot of the videographers that I'd known at the time were going after one-off jobs here and there. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, why would you do that when you can do it this way? And then it's like, you're at this point you're chasing jobs all the time. Mm-hmm. And that to me is like, your bottom line is continuing to sink day by day versus this side where it's like, it's a recurrent model, and then your bottom line in my mind would continue to increase over time. Mm-hmm. And I've the funny thing for that was when I left my day job to go full time into the business. If you look at the amount of money I spent over the same amount of days, so like to make the film, took about 30 days of production. I was calling in a lot of favors. There was a lot of volunteer work, but obviously you have a
welcome to filmmaking, my friend.
Exactly.
That's how it goes.
Independent filmmaking. We love making films.
Hell yeah. Everybody works for free, and everybody's starving on set and working 15 hours a day.
Oh shit! Don't come after me. But no, we did it as lean as we could. But at the end of the day, I probably spent about $30,000 making that film. Mm-hmm. My first month in business, I made about that same amount of money. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, I can spend this amount of money, basically be a depressed alcoholic while I do it, and not sleeping, and stressing all the time. Or I can make that same amount of money, work less hours, still stress about the same, and the alcohol is just nice to have. But in all seriousness, at that point, I was like, okay, I was just, okay, this is not sustainable. This, I can find a way to work with this. And so from there, I was like, okay, maybe on top of everything else, I was like, okay, maybe this is a route to go. And so I kind of dived all in on the video production side of things, made that my bread and butter. And yeah, after 5 years, everything seems to be working out. Yeah,
that's where you want to be. Tell me about, so we talked about kind of the worst point in your career. Tell me about the best point in your career, like the number one. You're like, I'm flying, everything is great.
I was literally, the funny thing is I was literally flying. So this was about a year and a half ago now. My best month on record, $45,000 in a month. Yeah, and I was probably home maybe 5 days out of
the month. God.
I think it was June. No, it was like August into September of 24. I think it was. I had just this string of out of state bookings, so I was like literally on planes, flying back and forth all the time.
What?
And that was about the time that you and I started doing some more work together, because I was like, Aidan, I'm so inundated with work. I need to send you some edits. And so that was like, I mean, it was a stressful time in my life, but it was also like, I'm stressing, but I'm seeing the numbers come in.
Yeah.
So like everything that, led up to that point, everything, since then, but like that month was just like, holy shit, I can do it.
Mm-hmm. Wow. I mean, at what age were you when you had that kind of month?
25.
Oh my God. As a 25-year-old to see that kind of, I mean, that's almost somebody's entire yearly salary in 1 month at the age of 25.
That was my salary. That was more than my salary, my annual salary of my first job coming out of college.
That's,
I got hired for a corporate job. Salary was $40K for the year. And I was like, holy shit.
That's mental. So what does it mean to you to be driven, especially through the hard times and also through the really good times, but the really stressful times? Because when you're making $45,000 a month, traveling 25 freaking days of the month, like the numbers are great, but it's still hard to be driven and hard to physically get your body up out of bed. So what does being driven mean to you first?
So to your question, I'd say that there's two answers, right? Or two components that I like to look at. One is purpose and two is discipline, right? Mm-hmm. So on the purpose front, I think I've told you this story previously, just in our own personal conversations. But when I was younger, in 5th grade, I went through a very severe depression, almost committed suicide. I was actually in the process of committing suicide, and I was losing like consciousness the way I was doing it. And
Jesus.
this voice, and it kind of came into my head, whether that's God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, was, if you do this now, there's no hope for what could be. And so I was like I sat up, kind of waited. I was like, okay, I'm gonna give myself a week. And if I can find something to get myself out of this hole that I'm in, I'm going to stick with it the rest of my life, come hell or high water. Does not matter what may come. Send the hordes. Yeah, I will stick with this and follow that path wherever it goes. And if I don't find that thing to get me out of this hole, I'll come back and finish what I started. And so in that week, I picked up writing. And so that kind of became filmmaking. Filmmaking became video business. And video business has continued to develop into the life that I lead today. So that's kind of my purpose. And similar to the video side or the filmmaking side, I was like, my worst day now, like you can't get much worse than fainting, like losing consciousness in a suicide attempt.
Dying.
Yeah, you literally cannot get lower than that. And so I look at it as my worst days now are literally skyrocketed from that point in my life. So that kind of one was the purpose. 2 was like just again the reference point of there's a quote that goes something to the extent of what a blessing it is to basically be burnt out in a pursuit of your own choosing. And so that's kind of the way that I see it, is even my worst days now are literally 100 times better than I was at that point in my life. Now, the second piece of it is discipline. And what I mean by that is, if you want something, you need to be able to put in the effort, go through the pain to get it, right? I've never seen anyone that has literally given something their all and not achieved what they want to achieve, whatever that might be. So like if that, I've literally woken up at 7 a.m. or 6 a.m. every day since middle school.
Jesus.
Like that's just how I'm wired. I've mentally wired myself. That's 7 o'clock. Like my body's like 6:55, man, you're up, get out of bed, go. And so, it doesn't matter if it's a weekend, doesn't matter if it's Christmas, doesn't matter if it's my birthday. I work on my birthday. I've worked on my birthday every year as long as I can remember.
Hell yeah,
right?
baby.
Exactly. And I enjoy it. And so, but to that point is it's discipline, because, if you're getting into this routine, or you have this inconsistent time of like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to get up, at 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. or whatever, right? Your body then just biologically doesn't track to what you're trying to do. And so it's like, to me, I look at it as it's not what can I get done today? It's what do I need to get done today? And then how far beyond that can I push myself to continue to, move in the direction of what I want. I think it was Elon Musk. He said something to the extent of, if you try to do 5 years worth of work in a year, you're probably not going to achieve that, but you'll be way further ahead than the person that just accepts it's going to take 5 years.
Right.
Right. So it's like, okay, if I have to get this, and this done today, it's going to get done today. It doesn't matter what I have to do. This is going to get done. And so it's just that discipline of, maybe you're not, you give up watching Netflix for 2 hours each night, right? And you use that 2 hours to build your business, or again, get done whatever it is you need to get done. But there was another quote that I saw that I love, and it's to the extent of, you either have to, increase your effort or decrease your desire to get what you want.
Ooh.
Yep.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah, it's like if you can't fall in love with the result without falling in love with the same discipline and pain that it takes to achieve it, right? And I see a lot of people today, they want the easy out, they want to get rich quick. The goal is to get rich, people. It doesn't matter. Speed is less important than direction.
Makes complete sense. Tell me about as you're an entrepreneur, you need to grow, right? You need to change with the times. You need to work on your personal, like yourself. How do you grow personally throughout your entrepreneurship journey? How have you grown? Like books? What's the way to create mental models that allow you to survive the ups and downs of entrepreneurship?
Yeah, so that's a good question, and there's a Japanese concept called Kaizen, right, which means continuous improvement, and so that's something that you need to embody as an entrepreneur, or really as anyone that's pursuing success, whether you're running a business or not, right? You know, if you're not learning, you're getting left behind,
Right.
And especially now, right, like with AI, you know, technology, things are moving much faster than they were 10 years ago. Right, the time to learn has decreased, and thus the time to execute has decreased, and thus the time to get left behind has also decreased. So, you know, it's you're playing 4-dimensional chess, one with yourself and two with the world at the same time. Right, you're 4-dimensional chess on two fronts. Right, and so the you know, whether that's reading or whether that's, you know, like learning from YouTube or courses and things like that, I think you always have to position yourself to either be around people that are doing research in different fields than you are, or and thus knowing things that you don't, or educating yourself massively in a way that is going to position you to sustain and remain afloat in the rising tide, whatever that looks like. So like for me, my core focuses obviously are business development, AI, crypto, and the stock market. Those are kind of my three pillars of verticals, so to speak, of where I try to position myself. You know, I keep an eye on politics because it affects the market, but it's not, you know, regardless of what side of the aisle that you fall on, that just becomes a cesspool and a black hole that you can easily get lost in. So I pay attention to it enough to inform, you know, my three cores over here. But, you know, as far as business goes, like that's kind of my area of focus. If it's outside of that area of focus, I either have someone that I refer to, talk to, or just other people that I surround myself with that know more, and then thus can save me time in that sense.
That was actually like right into my next question. So it's kind of not as relevant to you, but maybe. From my understanding, you don't have any business partners in Double M Digital, your video production company. Do you ever get lonely? I mean, I know you've got like other pillars. So in crypto, you're obviously not lonely. I know there's Tyler, I'm pretty sure is his name. So do you ever get lonely on this path of entrepreneurship for your business?
So it's an interesting question, and really it's not something that I had considered previously. And I guess what I mean by that is, you know, if you are, you know, obviously the journey and building of your own business as a solo entrepreneur, you know, there is the solo aspect of that. However, you know, the way that I see it, and you know, at least you know, it also seems that you share the same concept, is that, you know, there's enough work to go around. Like I'd rather be friends with 6 other people in the same industry building their own business and look at, okay, how can we work together, right? You're trying to grow your business, I'm trying to grow my business. How can we work together to both, you know, develop and grow and prosper, versus, you know, like seeing everybody as competition. I mean, sure, there's friendly competition and seeing you know how we can compare and you know excel comparative to each other. But at the end of the day, like, I'm not trying to really take market share from you, and it seems vice versa from our you know interactions. So I'd rather create this collaborative space where we can all make a lot of money together, you know, working together or sharing ideas, sharing strategies, because, you know, at the end of the day, we're all in the same race. It's just different, you know. We're racing swans, not rats.
Yeah, makes sense. I want to go even deeper than that. In your specific business, on your day-to-day, does it get lonely? Because, yeah, I get there's a lot of competition, and obviously I met you. We're both videographers. We're shooting the shit on the podcast. But, like, in your day-to-day, you're traveling, you're on a plane by yourself, you're editing by yourself in your room. You know, does it ever get lonely? And what do you do?
I mean, outside of what I've, what we just spoke about, right?
Friendly competition.
Yeah, like that's not a thought that crosses my mind.
Really?
Like, there's just, it's like, why would I think about that when I have work to do? Right?
Okay.
Like, and I don't mean that in like a sense of like, I mean, yes, I'm locked into editing or whatever, but it's like, if I'm working, 9, 10, 12, 16, 18 hours a day,
Jesus.
it's like I've got work to do. I can't, the mental capacity to think, am I lonely, does not exist. Like it's just go mode.
Interesting. Then does that lead to burnouts? And
Yeah.
tell me about that experience of burning out.
Oh, burnout.
What does that look like?
Burnout is a good friend of mine. The hello darkness, my old friend. Hello burnout, my old friend. It's the same thing. But no, I mean it can, but it doesn't always have to, right? And so it's like, while I do work, 16 to 18 hours a day consistently, and that's just how I'm wired. That's just how I work. I do have my burnout days, but they tend to be few and far between. Like true crash burnout days are few and far between, and that's partially because I feel like I prioritize my health and I prioritize my sleep a lot. If I'm not getting minimum 6-7 hours, I'm like on average, that's when I start to notice that the work is a diminishing return, right? Because I'm not on my A game, I'm not on point. And I mean, I can still perform, I can still execute, but it's like, okay, if I get 5 hours, 4 hours, 3 hours of sleep, it's going to compromise some things here. So I always want to try to make sure that whatever it is that I'm doing, I can give my body, give my mind what it needs to function and execute at the highest level.
That's very interesting. I want to dig in deeper about that, specifically about how you can work that many hours and stay so laser focused. How do you have that capability? Is it the drive? Is it just a purpose that's really strong? Like, how can you possibly physically do that?
Mind over matter. I mean, as crazy as it sounds, and I know it's kind of like this bold claim to say, yeah, like this is what I do every day. But on one hand, it's the purpose of, hey, like I have this dream, this goal, the Lamborghini, the beach house, like all of that type stuff. That, and I want it soon, like the Elon concept of wanting it in 5 years. It's like, okay, I understand that I can have it in 5 years, but I want to try to get it in 2.
Want it now.
Right. Because it's like, if I can get that now, I can get this then. Right. And so it's just compressing your timeline. Because the other thing too, right, is I know that I can't do this forever. So I'm trying to take as much advantage of my 20s as I can to execute at a fast speed at the highest level. Because I know once I start getting into, mid 30s, 40s, and so on, it's like I'm not going to be able to run around, flying around the country as much as I used to, right, or have been. And also with, kind of like I mentioned, my girlfriend moving in, things are getting more serious on the relationship side. I don't want to be working, like for the first time in my life, I don't want to be working, which is kind of also like a mental shift that I've had lately. And it's like, one, I know that I can't be doing the 14, 16, 18 hours a day and still having, a growing relationship on this front. So I know I need to work on getting this under control a little bit more so that I can have more time for this and down the road, kids, things like that, growing a family, that all takes time. That all takes energy. And I want to be present for that. I don't want to be running around and this is only taking up 10% of my mental capacity. I want to be present in my relationship, and I want to be present in any future family that, grows out of that. So it's the work, was it like the hustle and grind now, so I don't have to as much later. It is really kind of the drive in that sense.
How do you balance that? I've had issues with just mulling over that concept in my mind, having a girl in your life, but also having like obscenely disgusting goals that you want to hit. How in the hell do you balance them both? Because on the one hand side, you need to work 18 hours to achieve your goal. On the other hand side, you could be building the most successful business, have the most amount of money, but if you don't have a family in your life, like what the hell is the point of it?
Right.
You know, how do you personally balance those two objectives?
Yeah, so I mean that's a really good question, and I mean early on in our relationship, you know, like actually, well, when my girlfriend and I we started, you know, talking a little bit more before we really before things got more serious, you know, it was one of those seasons where I was traveling a lot, you know, so you know she got to see firsthand. It's like, hey, like in a busy season, this is what it looks like, and so you know, like and I think we prioritize communication a lot. Like we both agree that that's one of our strongest suits is that we are so communicative about things. So it's like there never feels like there's an instance where it's like, you know, she knows that there's going to be days that I need to work those 20 hours, but she also knows that I'm not trying to make that my MO, right? Going forward, I'm taking steps to automate, to, you know, delegate, things like that to free up this time, you know, because again, it's like in order for me to be fully present here in the way that I want to be, I need to make some adjustments on this front, and that's just part of a growing pain, right? Just part of growth, part of development, part of change, and you know, to your point or to your question, I think that, you know, whether you're an entrepreneur couple or not, you know, the aspect of communication is critically important to any relationship, right? And I think it's just also, you know, Casey sees that this is like my baby in a sense, right? The business. So it's like, and you know, at the end of the day, that's what is putting food on the table and you know, the roof over our heads. So it's like there needs to be, like, I can't take 100% of my time off, and she understands that. And it's like, but again, we've also been very communicative, and again, it's all about just making sure that your partner understands that, you know, sometimes it's going to take this, but that's not where I'm always trying to be.
Yeah. How do you guys like fight about it?
No, I mean, we've had some disagreements, but you know, they're over other things, but it's not like the work and business side has never been, at least to my knowledge, has not been an issue, right?
Have you shared your dream with her? Because it seems to me like your dream and like objective of beach house, Lamborghini, all these things, have you painted that picture for her clearly?
I mean, we've had conversations about like what you know the future looks like, because like the you know, some of the houses and lifestyle that she wants and some of the stuff that I want, you know, we're trying to, like, we're really kind of in this phase of blending. So like, you know, I've wanted this for forever, and you know, I'd recently got the Corvette, so like she knows a lot of where I'm trying to go and things like that. But now it's like, okay, like also what are her dreams, and how can I help her realize those together with what I want, so that way we're growing together and not in these independent silos. If that makes sense.
Makes complete sense. Can you actually, I kind of skipped a couple of steps. Can you paint to me as clearly as you possibly can your dream and your goal for the business and your life? Maybe let's say 10 years out. I feel like 10 years out is pretty still, like you can still dream. 20 years out, good luck.
Yeah, I mean, I would say concisely to not have to worry about money, to not even have to think about money. And what I mean by that, you know, short of the cliche financial freedom, you know, concept is, you know, it's like, hey, if we want to go have lunch in Boston, you know, cool, flights booked, let's go, right? The business is operating on its own, it's running by itself, you know, whether that's the video business or some of the software businesses that I'm developing. You know, it's like, you want to go to Italy, babe? Cool, flights booked, let's go. Like that's, you know, to have all of the material things, to have the properties that, you know, either of us could want, and not have to look at a price tag.
Yeah. I mean, that's solid. Can you paint that more clearly for me? How much does it look like in the bank? How much does that look like in monetary assets?
So prior to our conversations and kind of, you know, the blending that's occurring right now, my actual like number of if I'm making this per year, I'm pretty good, is 650K.
650K a
Which,
year.
yeah, and at which point, investments would be enough to sustain on. Salary covers the cars that I want, the house that I want, and all that stuff. It's all encompassing, right? So, and to me, that doesn't even seem that far off, right? Because like I've had years where I've done 250, and I'm just like, okay, cool. Like I was able to do that. Let's just 2-3x it, call it a day, right?
Call it a day.
Right. But it's like, I can see it, right? I can see that, I like doing the math and like I actually had a student of mine do this as well. It's like, tell me the life that you want to lead and, clearly map that out, right? What car do you want? What house do you want? What's the insurance cost on that car? What's the insurance cost on that house? How much are you spending on groceries? Do you have a kid? If you do, how much does that cost, right? Like literally running the numbers and then be like, okay, that's how much you need to make per year to live that life. Right, like almost reverse engineering conceptually what you want to make, right? Because like a lot of people that I've met will come in and say, "Yeah, I want to make $1 million a year." Great, cool. Like, but do you really? Right?
Here's what it's gonna take.
Well, not even that, because because the student that I had, I told her to do that same exercise because like she told me, like, yeah, I want to fly private, I want to do this, I want to go to all these red carpet type events, and I'm like, great, that's awesome. How much do you think they need to make to do that? She's like 1.2 a year. I'm like, cool, makes sense, sounds reasonable. Run the numbers. And then she came back about a week later, and she was like, I did my homework, and I was like, okay, cool. What's your number? 310. I'm like, how does that feel? A lot more achievable than 1.2, right? So it's just like, a lot of people have this mindset of like, yeah, like you make $1 million, you're cool, you're good, great, awesome. Maybe that's the case, or maybe you only need 310. But what I would say to anybody that's like, that's dreaming big is do the math, look at how much you actually need to make, and then reverse engineer from there. Because if your number's 310, that's, what is that? You make 10 clients at $3K a month, that's 30 grand. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you exceed that if you have 10 clients paying you $3K a month.
That's a great model. Tell me about kind of both. So I want to ask your opinion on someone who is currently Gen Z, who is in the earlier phase, like back when you were an alcoholic during that phase, right? What advice do you have for someone at that point? Also, what advice do you have to someone like me who has a more established business, who's having a really rough patch and things aren't working? So maybe like it's a two-part question.
Yeah, so I would say I'll address the starter, the black heart of the soul, or black night of the soul, dark night of the soul first. And what I'll say there is that, I mean, as crazy as it sounds, suck it up. And what I mean by that is like live in it. Don't try to escape it. Like the fact that you're going through that means that everything that comes after is easier. Everything that comes after that is better, right? Ask yourself, why am I here? Like have a sober moment. Why am I here? What am I doing wrong? Why am I in this position? Right? Is it because you're not focused enough? Is it because you're not disciplined enough? Is it because, hey, like I need to learn a new skill. I need to learn something new. I need to try something different, because every time, in that moment, it can be difficult. But, if looking back on that time, if someone had been, a little like rough with me in that sense to say, hey, like, why are you here? Mm-hmm. That probably would have broken my brain in the heat of that moment and been like, holy shit, I'm not doing this the way that I need to be doing it. and it's not an answer that will probably come to you immediately, but I would say, just sit in the pain and the suffering for a time. Everyone has those times. Everyone has those moments, but it's coming out of it. It's getting finding that thing. I was there too. I was depressed. Not like even before the alcoholic thing, right? Back in 5th grade when I was depressed and almost committed suicide. I told I was going to sit with it for that week and I was going to find that thing to get myself out of it. So what that did was it caused me to be like, okay, like what is causing this depression?
Mm-hmm.
And like during that week time frame that I gave myself, I identified what that was for me. And then I was like, okay, cool. Like what do I enjoy doing? What can I do right now to, to get myself out? And again, to me, that was writing. And I just followed that. And then now we're here. So if you're going through the pain, that probably means you're doing something right. Because at the end of the day, after you come out of that, ground zero, it's all up from there. Right. And to a point, I would even say it's the same logic applied to the more established, Gen Z entrepreneur, in the sense of, you've made it this far, right? The first 6 figures is a bitch, but once you get past that, you've done it once, you've broken the code, you know what you have to do. Then it's just rinse and repeat at a higher level, right? And then you get into the delegation phase and so on and so forth as you continue to grow and scale. But it's like, whenever you're in a rough spot, ask yourself, what could I do differently? What am I doing wrong? Why am I here? And if you're honest with yourself, I think in most cases you should be able to find some level of an answer. It may not be an easy step forward to take. I'm not saying that it's going to be the answer that you want. I'm not going to say that everyone's going to have the same level of ease coming out of it as, the next person. Some people are that are having depression or that are in these phases, or these like ground zero phases. It's not going to be the same difficulty for each person to get out of it. But again, if you're able to lift yourself up out of that, you can do anything, and you can basically like literally achieve everything that you want in your life after you get past that. But that first step can be the hardest.
Yeah, that's good advice. I got a very interesting question.
I hope I have a very interesting answer.
I really think that you will. Your philosophy is maybe 9 out of 10% accurate to Andrew Tate's philosophy. So he's more just like fun. You don't need fun. Motivation. What the fuck is motivation? Like that's retarded. Like that's literally the most retarded. He says motivation is the most retarded thing ever. You're literally living it. There's no time for loneliness. Like what do you mean? Am I lonely? There's physically no time to be lonely. How dead on balls accurate is Andrew Tate according to you based on how you're living your life? And I guess also the question is like, would you say that you're happy living your life that way?
Yeah, I mean the happiness component. I mean, I've listened to some of his stuff in that regard, and to some degree, I agree, and to some degree, I disagree. So I agree in the sense of the discipline that he talks about, and again, there are other things that he talks about that I disagree with. But when it comes down to the discipline side of the concept of it's like, hey, if you want this in life, you got to go get it, right? It's not going to come to you.
That's that.
Right. So it's the aspect of happiness is important to me in the sense of, I don't believe that life is just intended to be this like shit course that you run every single day, repetitive and not really enjoying it. Right. Because if that's the case, like, why are you doing it? Kind of like to your point, right? It's if you're doing it, I think it's a balance of doing something for yourself, for your family, for, your community, right? There's these different pillars, but I think at the end of the day, right, is if you're not happy doing what you're doing, that's telling you something. That's a signal that is suggesting that you might be on a path that you don't want to be on, right? Like I was doing video in corporate. Was I happy? I enjoyed what I do. But I don't know if I was happy with my life at that point because I knew I was wanting so much more out of life at that point in time. I would say, the aspect here is, finding a way to make money off of the skill set that makes you happy. So, like as an example, I know a lot of videographers that want to get into the film industry and they are struggling financially, right? But ask yourself, if you're going like film industry, a lot of that is B2C, business to consumer, right? You have the studios that make the films, and then you have the people that pay $1 to watch them on Amazon Prime. To make money in that field, you have to know somebody, or you have to be operating at a level that 95%, 99% of talent in that industry is not operating at. Yeah, you have to be in proximity to the wealth in that industry, right? Like you have to be in Hollywood, you have to be in New York, you have to be in Atlanta, right? And even then, you have to bust your ass 18 to 20 hours a day, networking, finding the people that know people, and then getting in with the right people to get the jobs that really pay the most money. And so to that point, that was a level of grind, a level of hustle that didn't match what I felt was right for me, right? I would not be happy had I continued down that path. Through what I do now in video production for businesses, again, every day something new, every opportunity, I feel like obviously there's still networking that's involved, but I feel like, I enjoy this hustle and this grind more than I did the other one, right? I'm doing literally the exact same thing, bringing creativity with video production to offer solutions to small businesses, just instead of telling a film story. I mean, the blessing with the way that my business is structured and the clientele that I have is I still have the opportunity to exercise, the creative freedom and the creativity side through some film production clients that I do have, but I know that that's not fully my bread and butter. I do get some good gigs here and there, but it's one piece of the pie, right? If you're an actor, as an example, right? An actor in Jacksonville is probably not going to make a full-time salary living off of that, but they might be completely fulfilled, right? Internally, which is completely okay. But you also have to be willing to accept that, unfortunately, you may not be able to make that full-time salary. If you're trying to do that, you probably aren't going to be able to do that here. You'd probably have to work your ass off in the LA, in the New Yorks, in the Atlantas and things like that for years to achieve some level of parity in that sense. But again, with what I do and the way that I structure my business and my lifestyle, I'll say that I'm happier than I was 5 years ago, but also I think the best way to phrase it is grateful, not satisfied.
That's a great way to phrase it. My next question is along the lines of, there's that meme on like Instagram where it's like what I would do to my past self if I saw him, and it's like that night beating. I think it's For Honor. That's the video game where it's night beating the shit out of the other night. So if I was you, let's say in your warehouse job day, so you're 20. That's so literally me. If you're literally talking to 20-year-old Matthew Maniac, what would you tell him?
Buy Bitcoin and hold.
No, I mean,
well, yeah, no, well, I mean, that's literally what I would tell my younger self. But just in terms of like business and stuff,
just in terms of being driven and helping yourself get to the current path that you're on,
I would say don't beat yourself up for not being able to do it overnight. Right? A tree does not grow in a day. Rome was not built in a day. It could be if you had enough people working together at the same time. But
that's beside the point.
Yeah, that's beside the point. The aspect here is give yourself time to be successful. Give yourself time to let the seeds of your labor grow. Right? Trust the process, because at the end of the day, right, you are just outlasting everybody else. And you literally don't even have to try to outlast and outperform 99% of people out there, right? You taking the first step towards starting a business, growing a business, doing anything entrepreneurial, right? Literally getting out of bed in the morning, you're doing more than 99% of the other Gen Zs.
Yeah.
Right? And I mean, I say this jokingly, but this is also partly accurate in the sense of your competition was literally eating Tide Pods 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Right? So you don't have to do too much to outlast 99% of your competition, but then it's that last 1% of your competition that's going to really define where you land. And I think some, not all, Gen Zs have this, and maybe this is my boomer moment coming out, but,
boy.
but like just this aspect of this victim mindset or this entitlement to, hey, I'm living, I'm breathing, and I deserve to make six figures or something to that extent. I think a lot of that comes from, this prevalent messaging of, because I'm this, I deserve this. It's like the world doesn't owe you anything.
You don't deserve shit in this world.
Yeah, it's like you literally have to go out and make a name for yourself. You have to go out and live off the sweat of your own brow. That is, like, put very simply, that is my MO, right? Taxation is theft. But but that's another podcast. But in all seriousness, though, is just like, if you are what you accept that you are. If the world can tell you that you're a victim, and if you accept that you're a victim, then you are a victim. But if the world tells you you're a victim and you say, no, I'm not gonna ascribe to what you tell me that I am. I'm gonna go out and do my own thing. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Then there's no limit to what you can achieve there.
Damn.
The key is just, I talk about this and to a lot of people, is just, it's absolute personal accountability for yourself, right? That's what capitalism is, right? I was having a debate with somebody the other day on capitalism, because we were talking about some of the stuff that's going on in New York and things like that, and not to get political on it, but I told him, I was like, you're conflating crony capitalism and free market capitalism. I'm a free market capitalist because that is intrinsically living off the sweat of your own brow. And like, we had our own debates on the topics and things like that. But when it came down to it, it was like, listen, I've literally made a living for myself off of absolute personal accountability, accepting that no one is coming to save me, accepting that there are no handouts in life. And that there's no free lunch on Wall Street. So
brutal.
Yeah.
Damn. That's really good. There's so much just brilliance that you're dishing out. I feel like I really hope people in Gen Z are listening to it. But I think the massive takeaway, the most impactful thing you've said is loneliness. I don't have capacity for loneliness.
I mean,
that's insane.
Loneliness, negativity, like, I don't have time to be depressed. I got work to do.
That's crazy.
Like it's you if you let, I mean, kind of the way that I see it in a way is just negativity is a cancer. If you let that into your mind, and it may not, but once it's planted in there, it can fester.
Yeah.
So I try to minimize the exposure that I have to, like, those negative thoughts, those negative emotions. I mean, obviously I still feel them. Like, I'm human. You can't get rid of them entirely. Mm-hmm. But, at the end of the day is this serving me? Is feeling sad about myself serving me? Mm-hmm. Is feeling depressed about myself serving me? And then the answer, 9.99999 times out of 10 is no, right? And because it's like, if I'm not where I want to be, okay, work harder, or work smarter, or do something differently, automate, delegate, something to that extent. If I'm sad, why am I sad? Or if I start to feel that level of sadness, why am I sad? And what can I do to mitigate that? Or, if I'm feeling weak, okay, go to the gym. Like, at least in my experience, most of every negative thought or emotion that I've felt has some level of personal way that I can either circumnavigate, repair, fix, or mitigate that thought. Mm-hmm. And so it's just, even in the worst moments, my mom kind of taught me this, actually, is just asking, how does it get better than this? Right? Mm-hmm. You couldn't lift something. Cool. How does it get better than this? Go to the gym, build muscle, and continue to grow. I'm down $5,000 a month, or $5,000 this month. Great. How does it get better than this? Right? Like, I literally through crypto, there was one day, October 10th of last year, great day in my life. I had almost 60K wiped in 10 minutes.
Jesus.
I watched my bank account or my crypto account go down 60K in less than 10 minutes. I thought it was a glitch.
Oh,
It was not a glitch. And it took everything I could to hold through the massive move down, because usually when that happens, there's a bounce back up. And so we bounced back up, and then that was when I was like, okay, I'm out for a bit. But in that moment, I was like, shoot, nothing's nothing's gonna hurt me more than this moment from a crypto trading standpoint until until I have more exposure, right? And so it's just like shoot, that broke my brain in the amount of as far as like a crypto loss. But all that to say is, cool. How does it get better than that? No matter what you're going through, I think there's a place where you can say, and this is not to trivialize people that are actually suffering, that are going through like actual trauma in their lives. But at the same time, I think it's okay. Like, how do you remove yourself from that? And I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying that everyone's going to have the same level of effectiveness in doing it, or the same level of ease in doing it. But, the moment that you accept absolute personal accountability in your life, you become unstoppable.
Whoa. That's a very good one. I'm trying to think if I've got anything else. That was a good bar. That totally threw me off. Yeah, I mean, kind of to your point, right before I went to Wyoming, I had 2 proposals in front of clients totaling $16,000 per month over a year. Complete revolutionizing my business. And both of them didn't land. The guys had the proposals in front of them, and both said, we're not going to proceed forward. So I was reminded of that one scene from Midway where, it's that medic, right? You remember that movie?
Yeah.
Doesn't pick up a gun. So there's a scene where like a bunch of guys beat him up in the barracks, and then the sergeant walks in.
Was that Midway or Hacksaw Ridge?
Hacksaw Ridge. Yeah, Hacksaw Ridge, right, with Andrew Jackson. So the sergeant walks into the room, and he's like all beat up, and the sergeant's like, you should quit. And he's like, yeah, that kind of makes sense at this point. But, oh, wait, I can't. I got PT tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like on the one hand side, for me, entrepreneurship has been absolutely brutal with ups and downs. I'm still figuring out the offer and all these things. But I can't quit, Doc. Like, I can't. I got clients. I got contracts. Like, I literally am unable to quit, So I feel like you've had similar experiences to that. But for you, that mindset, that mental model is just, I don't have time to be depressed. I physically don't have time to be depressed. Okay, client didn't sign. Great. Move on to the next one. Like, there's no time to just sit and ponder your mistakes.
It's like, why would you accept a feeling or accept a reality that doesn't serve you? Like, why would you let thought processes that don't serve you occupy your mind?
Huge.
Putting it simply. I mean, but like, to your point though, right? The world cannot defeat a man that refuses to quit.
Ooh. That's a good one.
Life can't keep you down unless you let it. And so it's like, if you just Hacksaw Ridge, oh Lord, one more.
Yeah.
Your quote failed. How does it get better than this? One more.
Next one.
Your client left you. How does it get better than this? One more.
Next one. Yeah, that's insane.
And then one day you land that other one that's maybe it's 20K a month. How does it get better than this? One more.
40K.
Yeah.
80K.
Because it's like, it's a lot of times, and I've seen this in people. They say, how does it get any worse than this? How can it how does it get worse? Right? Is what a lot of people ask themselves, and the universe has a funny way of showing them.
It's like, oh, you want to see? I could show you.
Yeah, it's like how does and so that it's just changing your mindset, changing your framing of how does it get better than this, and then the universe, in all of its power, has a funny way of showing it.
Yeah. So, I mean, hopefully this podcast land on someone. One of the shorts from this podcast will land in the feed of a Gen Zer who's going through some shit. Like, parents are messed up, home situations messed up, getting kicked out of their house, don't know what to do, no money for college, crazy bad circumstance. What's the one thing you tell them?
I mean, again, it's going to be cliche, but just don't give up, right? Find that thing that's going to get you out of that hole that you're in and stick with that, right? Follow that, find your purpose and follow it, right? And again, no one said it was easy. No one has promised victory. No one has promised success. No one's promised tomorrow. So just use the time that you have in the best way that you can. And, again, just don't give up. Life can't beat you down. Life can't keep you down unless you let it.